welcome to Axis and Allies, the Garrison, coming to you from Rochelle Park, New Jersey, with another episode. Here we have today at the Garrison my good friend Jeff.
Hello.
Jeff recently reached out to me a few months ago. He has been an avid Axis and Allies player since his teenage years. Okay, he definitely has had an interest and recently reached out to me, as I said before, because he wanted to get a couple of tips or painting tips on how to go about painting his own game pieces. So Jeff, thanks for coming to the Garrison. Okay, Jeff has definitely hit the road running. He hasn't looked back, and to be honest, he has definitely impressed me with his talent, his skills. That his painted pieces are just astonishing as far as I'm concerned. So you definitely have taught me a few things.
Thank you. And that's hard to say. Coming from a guy, you're one of the originals.
Yeah, thank you, Jeff. Thank you. So Jeff, how did you get involved with Axis and Allies, the game?
Well, I got involved when I was 12. A bunch of neighborhood kids. One kid got the game for Christmas. One thing led to another, and we were all in someone's basement or kitchen table playing the game, and that went on for a couple of years. And as kids get older, as everyone got older, there was only one other guy that liked the game as much as I did, and we played for hours. And this was I'm going back to the original 1984 version. The classic version. It was basically a very no-frills game, and we just spent hours, and it was just such a fantastic game. And when he left, he grew up, obviously, graduated college, moved away. I know we played it for the longest time. Then my son, he became older, and I was like, how are we going to kill a couple hours on a rainy afternoon? I know. Let's go get Axis and Allies. By that time, my game was beat up. It was, it was ready for the Axis and Allies junkyard, I think, at that point. So I got the new version, and one thing when we started playing that game, and then my son really enjoyed it and got into it. And then, we discovered this game, and one thing led to another there, and we started looking up strategies, how to beat one another. And on YouTube, I found you. I found a couple other guys who had very, very good strategies that we never thought of, but, through playing the game.
Now, I must mention, though, that you are Jeff has been an avid player of Axis and Allies, or has had an interest in Axis and Allies, but he's mostly the gaming experience that he's had so far has been mostly what versions of the game?
The original version.
The original?
And 1942, I played limited with my son.
But you haven't really played global.
No, global. Yes. Me and my son, we just got the. I'll never forget. I was driving him home one day from a tough wrestling practice, and I wanted to cheer him up a little bit. So I'm like, let's see if we can find. We had the European edition. So let's see if we could find the Pacific edition. So we made a couple phone calls, and a used game store in Madison had the Pacific edition for $50.
Oh,
and
wow.
I knew it was a very expensive game. So I was like, no, that's got to be a mistake, kid. Ask him if that's the right game. And they're like, no, that's the game. I was like, I told him, we're going to go right there. We're going to get it right now. And that's what we did. And then, his face lit up. And then,
how old is your son?
He's 15 now.
He's 15, okay.
This was when, I think, last summer he was 14. That's when we got that. Okay. And when we put the whole map together, his face just lit up. And, we had a great time playing that afternoon. It was a great experience. And then from going on the computer, I saw your videos, and I saw the painted pieces, and the board just came alive. And I was like, wouldn't it be fantastic to have pieces like that and to play like that? And,
Now, you mentioned earlier to me, when I first met you, actually, that Jeff had actually painted or attempted to paint his collection back in the day.
Yes.
When you were a kid yourself.
Yes.
Can you elaborate on that?
Well, look, being the, Axis and Allies, geek I kind of was.
Yeah.
I did attempt to paint my own pieces, and it was very, rudimentary paint job, with limited skills, and it came out, I thought, okay at the time. But looking back on it now, you're like, wow, this is pretty amateurish compared to what you could do today.
Yes.
You have a little bit more means. Back then I was a little limited in my means, but today you could really get some really nice game pieces out there and really enhance the experience.
Yes, you can.
And that's one of the reasons why I chose to start painting my pieces, because you just look at this board here, And I'm sure everybody on YouTube looks at this board and they're like, wow. Because I know I was when I first saw it. It looks fantastic.
Well, thank you, my brother. And you know what? I've always said this about the game. Anytime that you play with painted pieces or game pieces, it just enhances the game. It brings the game to another level. To me, it just makes the game more enjoyable, a lot more fun. It introduces a level of realism.
Absolutely.
You know, that just enhances the game overall. It gives the game flavor. That's just how I feel. I'm sorry to interrupt, but when I play on a board that has pieces that are not painted, it's not the same experience for me.
I'm going to agree. And that's one of the reasons why I reached out to you. You know, I saw the board and it looks so much better, so much nicer. And I was like, man, this is really, really nice. And having painted pieces in the past, I knew it was a very time consuming and a very, you know, a lot of time. Time is not your friend when you're painting Axis and Allied pieces. I will tell you that.
I am glad you're touching upon that subject because it's funny. I mentioned earlier that Jeff has hit the road running. He hasn't looked back. He came here about a month and a half ago, maybe 2 months ago.
Yeah, I would say about 2 months.
Right, more or less. And he knew really your skill set was very limited as far as to how you could go about painting. After a few lessons, a couple of tips, you just picked it up, you know, and haven't looked back. Now, what I want to say about Jeff is that Jeff is actually taking the painting, to another level. And what he has done, though, is that he's started using spray, call it spray paint, right?
Model spray paint.
Okay.
Any hobby shop that.
Right. But what he's done with them has definitely raised the painting of the game pieces to another level.
One of the things that I like to do with my aircraft is, you know, having painted it by the brush, I painted 5 pieces. I think I had 4 hours in. And I had 5. Don't get me wrong, the aircraft came out beautiful. I was wow, they look really nice.
A little flustered, maybe?
But I look back at the clock and I'm like, Jesus, I'm going to collect my Social Security check before I get to play a game. I'm like, there's got to be a better way. Yeah. So I started thinking, and I was like, why not use spray paint? And I'm going to be honest, the first couple of pieces I tried didn't come out too good, and took a little bit of experimentation. You know, how far to hold the spray can away. You know, too far and it gets like a grainy finish, and you have to go quick and light. And I went quick and light, and I figured it out. And you know, I figured out how to counter shade them, make them white on the bottom and, you know, regular color on top, and they came out. I was very impressed. I was like, wow, Jeff, you're actually...
You impressed yourself.
Yes.
Not only did he impress himself, he impressed me. And I tell you, as a painter, I don't get impressed that easily. Okay, the fact that he was able to impress me actually blew me away. And now Jeff is kind of teaching me a few things about how to go about enhancing my own pieces, because now I realize that I can use some sort of an eclectic approach where I don't have to be a strict painter of sorts. I don't have to just only brush my game pieces. I can also start introducing
the spray
technique.
And the beautiful thing about the spray technique is you can knock out 10 aircraft quickly. Where the time comes in is when you pick up that paintbrush, and you have to, because to get the detail in there that really makes the game piece come alive, you got to pick up that paintbrush. So there, you know, it's not a cure-all, but it does speed the process up a lot. I will say that the way I've come up with the spray paint technique in the counter shaded aircraft, it does speed it up, but you still, you know, the decals and the paintbrush take up time, but that's the finishing touch that really, wow, you look at the game piece like this is fantastic.
Those of you who have seen my past videos know that my flat tops, my aircraft carriers, I actually paint the flat tops. I don't apply decals. Now, recently, Jeff has, made me rethink my own personal philosophy on decals. Okay, he brought to the Garrison a set of his painted carriers or unpainted carriers. We both started working on applying magnetic primer on the aircraft carriers, and then you mentioned, or suggested that we sand down the magnetic primer paint once it's dried, so that we could properly apply the decal on top of the
Get a nice smooth
right.
finish.
So this way the decal applies smoothly on the surface of the flat top, which was an obstacle or an issue that I had already foreseen, but I didn't know how to go about it. So, I wasn't sure if the decals would apply. Well, Jeff said, John, Dtroy, why don't you just, sand it down? Use 2000 grit paper, sandpaper, and you'll see that'll be that surface of the flat top will be as smooth as a baby's bottom. And sure enough, we ran over to Home Depot and bought a 2000 grit sandpaper, and we sanded down the surface of the flat top, and we applied those decals. And you know what? Beautiful.
Yeah, it came out. We were really happy with them. Came out very nice.
Yes.
I was very pleased with them.
So was I.
I think the one thing I was ready to settle at the gloss finish, and Detroit was like, no, I don't like it. It's so.
I wasn't yet quite sold. Okay, with the decals. Reason being that even though after we were able to apply the decals on the surface of the flat tops, I still could see a lot of gloss on the surface of the decal, and that was bothering me. Okay, so Jeff kind of reached out to
the owner of Combat Miniatures.
Right. Okay.
And he suggested that we hit it with the matte clear coat.
Yes, and you know what? That just erased the gloss.
Took it right away.
It
was night and day. It was unbelievable.
Yeah, unbelievable. So, and it just at that point in time, the piece just came alive on the board, and I was like, "That's it. I'm not looking back."
Yeah.
So, just to let you guys know, I'll be using
the decals.
The decals from now on. I'm not forsaking my painted flat tops, but I will start introducing here and there a couple of decals on my game board.
And the reasons why I like the decal is painting it is fantastic, but for me, time is an issue. I've got a family, 2 children. I'm running here, I'm running there, so I'm like, I want to do this, but I just don't have the time to dedicate to hours and hours and hours to paint the pieces to get the detail in there. So I'm like, how many shortcuts that are going to be quality can I take and achieve the same effect?
Right.
And that's what I think I was looking to do with the aircraft carriers and the airplanes. And I think I came really, really close. Maybe I exceeded my expectations a bit, particularly with the airplanes. The aircraft carriers I was really, really happy with. They came out very, very nice. But, when you're limited in time, you've got to start thinking, how can I cut time and not sacrifice, what really makes the game piece pop and what you're trying to achieve by bringing that board alive when you play.
It does, yes. It does come alive, And you know what? Jeff and I, we plan to make a couple of more videos showing you guys not only the game pieces that you have painted, which I want to show off to you guys. They have to be seen. They're very nice. Okay, but also we want to make a couple of videos where Jeff goes into somewhat the detail that of how to go about painting the pieces, the techniques that he has developed.
It is not difficult. It is simple. As long as you could do this here, you'll be able to achieve it.
It's shockingly simple.
Yes. So as long as you could, and the other aspect of it I wanted to mention real quick is, if you make a mistake. And I was like, if I make a mistake, I'm going to lose the piece. Well, if you go on one of these sites like Historical Game Boarding, if you look around, the guy has some really good sales, and you can pick up a piece for a nickel, for a dime. So if you have to do a little experimentation and you make a mistake, you got invested a nickel, a dime. It's not a worldly sum of money, so you could afford to make a couple of mistakes.
Yeah, the beautiful thing about historical board gaming is that not only are you getting an excellent, good quality game piece, but it's extremely affordable.
Yes.
And Doug, the owner of historical board gaming, has cornered the market, I think, and he's producing a good quality product at a very good price, affordable price. So as Jeff is saying, if you make a mistake while experimenting with your own painting of your own game pieces, no big deal. It's not really going to break your back. Yeah.
Just look for the sales section on his website. That's what I did. being frugal, 2 kids, you got to be frugal, right? And you're picking up pieces for a nickel, for a dime, and experiment on those pieces and see how it goes. I mean, 10 pieces is 50 cents. So you get 10 shots to figure out how to do it right. And you'll figure it out, trust me.
Now, changing the subject a bit, Jeff brought his son Nate, who's 15 years old, to the Garrison last week. We started playing their first game of Axis and Allies Global, and they loved the game. I mean, they enjoyed it. They were a little bit surprised because the game is a tidbit different. For those of you who play, there are differences. But what was your general overall impression of the global version of the game?
Well, look, I mean, the global is so much more sophisticated than the games that I played. That's
to say that
right off the bat.
Yes,
it's a much more sophisticated game. The strategies are very, very different because the shape of the map is very different. The territories are different. So a lot of the experience I came into with Axis and Allies is kind of wiped clean.
Yes.
Based off the fact that the map is completely different. How you use pieces and how you attack and the odds, that kind of stays the same. That dynamic of the game stays the same.
Yeah.
The dynamic that changes tremendously is the map. And that's kind of the fun of the new game, is learning the new strategies.
Yes.
And learning, how to apply them. And with the new map, there's a whole lot to learn.
But don't forget also, Jeff, that you have a lot of new rules, that do change the dynamic of the game.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Okay? And I myself, I'm only what I consider a recent player. I've been playing Axis and Allies like Jeff most of my life, but I basically focused on the other versions of the game. It wasn't only until about a year ago that I started playing Global, and needless to say, I haven't looked back. I mean, I think this game blows away the other versions of the game. It's just a superior game. It's more realistic, longer, more time-consuming.
Much more time-consuming.
But it's more realistic, and I love that aspect of the game.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely fun. I like a couple. There's a lot of different aspects based on how big the map is. In the older games, the English, would live and die off of Africa.
Yeah.
But now it's a lot more different. So there's a lot of getting used to, but it's still a tremendous amount of fun. And like I said, the one, learning the new strategies is going to be fun. That's going to be a lot of fun.
It will be fun. As a matter of fact, we're going to try to play at least 1, maybe 2 rounds tonight. I know that Jeff is itching for another game.
Yeah,
so
I made a lot of mistakes that last game. You learn quick.
But in all honesty, Jeff was actually pretty decent, pretty good. His son too, and Nate is only 15. But you know what? They didn't play badly. I think you guys did.
Yeah, well, there's a learning curve here. It's a new game. I made a couple of mistakes. Hopefully I learned from them, and we'll see what happens tonight.
All right.
I'm going to give you my best shot here.
All right, guys. So listen, that's about it. I'm gonna cut it short. I hope you guys found this episode interesting. I want to thank my son Brandon, who was our cameraman tonight. He wants to just, as always, say hello.
Hello.
Hello. So in any case, guys, please let me know what you guys think. If you have any comments, pointers, recommendations, let me know. Just keep in mind that we are going to be making more videos in the near future. Hopefully, Jeff will produce, help me produce more of the content that you guys want to see. Guys, as always, any words before we go, Jeff?
Just happy Thanksgiving. It's Thanksgiving Eve. Everybody enjoy your turkey. Think about those strategies out there. Post them up on the internet because I'm going to need them if I'm playing this guy. And enjoy your Thanksgiving. Have a safe Thanksgiving.
Guys, happy Thanksgiving, and enjoy your time with your family. Until next time, guys. And by the way, as always, don't forget
to hunker down and play.
Hunker down and play, guys. Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you.
No
Hey, you're the
problem.
best. You're a natural, my brother.